If during the past week someone would have asked us, well, what do you plan to do on Sunday? Well, we might have answered, well, I'll go to church and then maybe go out to the lake or do some yard work, have a nice meal with the family, etc. But what is really happening? Go to church sounds so bland. 1 billion Catholics around the world will be drawn like a magnet to the altars around the world. For what reason? Because we heard the story of Jesus raising a widow's son near a city called Nain. And the people there, as soon as they saw it, they realized the great prophet had risen in their midst because they remembered the story of Elijah and the widow. Remember, there was a great famine and drought, and this prophet comes to her, and they live on bread for a year because the flour jar miraculously kept giving flour over and over, sustained them while others were starving. And after that crisis was over, things seemed to be going well, and unexpectedly the widow's son became very ill and dies. And she mourns and weeps and wails, "Why have you done this for me? Is this a punishment for my sin, a punishment for my guilt?" And of course Elijah raises up the child, and she realized the power of God was truly with him. And those two stories of a widowed son being raised from the dead was also a prefiguration of another widow's son who would rise himself from the dead to console his widowed mother, Mary. And because the tomb was not strong enough to hold the love of Christ for the world, we have all come to church, been drawn here by a mystery, a power that we take for granted and we don't understand fully. So if someone would have said, "What are you going to be doing on Sunday?" we could have told them, well, as broken as I am, as sinful as I am, as weak and doubt-filled as I am, I'm going to meet the prophet from Galilee, the Son of God. I'm going to ask for his mercy, and the mercy is going to be given to me. And I am going to receive the bread of life that will sustain me, nurture me, keep me alive in the midst of a world that's starving for the truth of God. And at the end of the Eucharistic celebration, I'll be receiving that bread into my heart, into my life. My body will digest it, but I will be transformed too into the living body of the Christ, living body of Jesus, within the midst of a church, and I'm going to try to live that good news as best I can. St. Paul, in today's second reading, talks about his transformation. He thought he knew it all in religion. He couldn't stand this new news of a risen Savior. It didn't make sense to him until he encountered the risen Savior. And once he did that, everything changed. And he learned the basics from Ananias and the other disciples who baptized him. And then he went off just to think about it for 3 years. And after he digested that, he goes and meets Peter. And he meets James. He had the exact number of days he was with them, 15 days. They must have been so important to him. We'd say, a couple of weeks, I don't know. I spent time. But he knew the exact number of days. Every one of those days chiseled something on his heart and in his mind, so that then he could go out and tell the story of the Lord whose love was stronger than death, and give it to a world that's always been hungering for it. And we too have that same challenge to tell the story of the risen Christ, to live it, and to love the way he himself proclaimed to a loveless world.